Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome again. Yeah, welcome again to the second part of the workshop. Yeah, I hope you had a good time last week with the data and spend some time with your data. We will have time to discuss about what you did in the second part of today. Because in the first part, I would like to already introduce some of the visualization method that we touched upon last week. I already kind of introduced you the three methods, the image grid, the collage, and the supercut video in a more, let's say, theoretical way, or how they could be used as a analytical for analytical purposes and to visualize your data. And today I will just show you more like a step-by-step or examples on how to go about with these visualizations. It's gonna be quite short, the first part, because it's not so complicated, let's say. And then we will have a small break, and we will have time for your questions. And I would like to spend some time with each of you, and also with the people following us online if they want to discuss about what you're working on, what you discovered this week, what interests you, and how you can go forward. So yeah, I will start first with how to design an image grid with Image Sorter, which is a software that is free and open source, and it's outdated as a software. This is a forkat still, but well, this is the link where you can download Image Sorter if you haven't already. Just to taste the water, how many of you already downloaded Image Sorter? Yeah, well, I think you can do it now if you like, because it's nice if you do it already with me, this tutorial. So you can go to this link, and there are two versions of it, one for Windows and one for Mac, I think. If they're still there, they should. And it's a pretty light software. As I said, it's outdated. There are other software that do similar things from the same company who developed this, but I think I want you to use this because it has a function, and it's, in my opinion, more easy to use and more useful for this technique, which we will see in a moment. So before using image software, last week we saw how you could get a folder of images from forkat. Basically, for this step, what you need is a folder containing the thumbnails of the video you're working with, and the amount of thumbnails it depends on the size of your data set, but I would suggest that you could work with between like 150 and 500 thumbnails to have an effective image grid. And you can download your image folder from forkat. You should have done it, as I said last week, as soon as possible, because the link of the thumbnail expires pretty quickly. If you haven't done it, you can maybe reload the data set again, and then download only the thumbnails. That's fine. And to do so, there is a visual model in forkat at the bottom of the tool that's called download images. So it's pretty easy to recognize. And the thing you have to do is to select only the thumbnail URL, which is the column in your dataset that contains the links to the thumbnails. And you don't have to check the split column values by comma, because there is only one link, or should be only one link per row. in the dataset. So once you've done this and you click on run, you should be able, like in a few minutes, depending on how many videos you're working with, but yeah, like if you have like 200 or 300 videos, it usually FORCAD is doesn't really manage to download all the thumbnails for all the videos for different reasons. Like one of which is again because the thumbnail URL are expiring. Other ones because of maybe you cannot reach the link. But if you manage to again download like 150 or 200 or more images, you should be good to go. And it will take like around 10 minutes or so. So it shouldn't be too long as a process. And once you've done this, you can just click on the download zip and you will have your folder containing all the thumbnails. So this is the only two things you need for creating an image grid. One is a folder with your images, and the second one is to download the image sorter. And if you have these two ready, I will show you in a minute how it's done. Let me know if, yeah. So that's a Mac perk. And so you have to right click on the software and then open, and then it will let you open it. Because if you double click on it, it will not. I think it's to prevent automation in a software that may want to open certain software in your Mac and with a double click. That's I'm not sure about it, but this is the workaround. Yeah. Yeah.
Like sometimes it's like cooking videos or something like that, but also sometimes like very random videos.
Yeah.
Maybe the account that has posted previously a video of like the same topic, but like some are like very random photos.
Yeah.
I still put them in the image.
Yeah, that's fine. It's like image grid is not, you can consider it as not as a way of, not only as a way of only presenting findings on your data set, but it's also a tool for you to notice this kind of things. So to spot the noise in your data set, so the images that don't really matter to you or they're redundant. And then maybe to better refine or clean the data set. But for now, it's fine if you leave them in, and I will just show you how to navigate maybe with image sorter, the image grid. And of course, then the last stage will be with more time to refine and clean the data set to reach the query that gives you the best results and the best on the most significant images. And if you really want, then you can also, if you want to present, then as a final result, you can also gray out the images that are not relevant for you, but it takes a bit of time. So for the sake of simplicity, I will not just show you how to create the first view of your initial data set. So if everybody has downloaded the image sorter and has a folder of images ready, I will just exit the presentation and just show you. Yeah, so image sorter should look like this. It's pretty an old school user graphic interface, but it's quite simple. So it's basically a navigator, like a finder in your Mac, where on the left side you have all your folders that you can navigate to. So it goes back to the root of your Macintosh or your hard drive, and then you have to find your way into the folder where your images are. And once you find the folder, I have a few now done as an example. You just click on them, and you should see here like a black window saying the number of images that this folder contains. In this case, I have created a sample dataset for agriculture, the query agriculture, and I downloaded some of the images and are around 200, like 187. You can also select multiple folders at one, like this, and it will add. So if you maybe have two queries, but you want to visualize the two different queries and two folders together, you can Command or Shift click as you to select more than one. Let's start with one. Once you click load and sort images, it will be very quick in loading all the images in the folder in this space. And there are a few things you can do. So as a starting point, as a standard option, it will try to order the images according to this, to color. I think it's a mix of, no, it's only color. So it tries to, it's not very precise. Of course, it's analyze each image, each pixel in each image, and it will try to make an average of the color, if I remember correctly. And so you will kind of see, like if you have a lot of green images will be in this area, blue, gray, red, and so on. And but of course you can you have also other options here to choose from. One is color, the second one is name, which is name of the file, which, I mean, in this case it's not really telling because but maybe it helps if you for a project you have a folder with the names of the images that means something, that maybe is numbered from 1 to 100, but in this case I wouldn't suggest to use it. You can sort them by size, which is the size of the file, so how big it is in terms of bytes, and by date, which is, I think, the date of creation of the file. But again, for this exercise, in my opinion, like if you see here, there is also sort by similarity, which is a feature that didn't make it to be developed because it's outdated as a software. And there are now much sophisticated software like computer vision that can do this job way better. But this is, in my opinion, a really easy to use software. And if you order your images by color, it's just, I think, an easy way to have an overview of your data set and be able to navigate it. And I say navigate it because it's actually this space is, you can zoom in and out, and you can easily see or explore this space very easily by dragging with the mouse, so by clicking and dragging. And yeah, it's a different way to spend time with your folder of images. So to see what's in there, what topics emerge, what kind of objects or people or even text. And the good thing is that the more you zoom in, the more resolution the images have. So it preserves the resolution of the images, which is a good thing to read it more closely. And it's an infinite space as well, so it doesn't end, even if your images are still 200 in this case, but it's basically keep on generating. So if you go in this direction, the images that were here now are appearing here and so on. So you still see the same amount of images, but you are able to navigate them. Yeah, there are other things you can do in this software, which you can explore if you want. You can set some filters to filter out some images you don't want, but in my opinion, it's enough if you just leave it as it is and use it as a window to explore your collection. You can, maybe the other thing you can do is, I think you can select more than one image with the, I think the command key, like pressing the command key and selecting, and then you can create a subfolder from these images if you want, which might be useful if you start recognizing some patterns and you want to collect the images that you see for a collage, for example. That's the next step. And you do sort by, I think you just drag them. I have to check this, but you should be able to create a new folder with these images. So okay, this is your image grid, and okay. Once you have spent some time in it, and the way I suggest you to use it is, of course, here you see a thumbnail of a video, which is one image for a whole video, and you can kind of make sense of what this video might be about, but an image cannot really summarize the full content of a video, so it might be difficult to see, okay, I see many people here, for example, you know, as TikTok always shows like the first image of creators that face the camera, and I don't know what they're talking about and so on. But it maybe become useful as a tool to, in combination with a Google Sheet with a CSV that you downloaded last time. Because as if you remember, we saw kind of a formula. You can change the background color.
There's the power.
Strange. It should be.
No,
It changed? Okay, maybe if you sort them again. And so I was saying that last time we saw like how in the Google Sheet, like with the file that you downloaded from 4Cat, you are able to also preview the thumbnails within the spreadsheet with the formula image. And then on the link, in this case, it won't work because this dataset is already expired, I think. But if you have the thumbnail both here in the dataset in this column and in the image grid, it's easier to go from one to another, to jump from one to another, and so to check if you recognize a thumbnail that you are not really sure what's about, search it in a spreadsheet and see and read and watch the video, for example, or read the caption or the hashtags and so on. I wanted to check. Yeah, the other thing you can do, I think, so if you go to your folder of images, like directly in the Finder, you see that your images should be renamed with a long code that's unique to each image. And I think you can search this in your data set. Let's see if it works, or at least part of it. No, this is not the right folder. Sorry. Let's see if it works. So sometimes, no, in this case, it doesn't work. But well, usually this is, yeah, the kind of the hard way to do it. But if you have the thumbnail reviewed here, it should be easier at least to go from the image grid to the CSV. And okay, so let me go back to the presentation. Okay, so here are the steps that I also included in the slides. You can change the background of your image grid here. Once you reach the result that you want to keep, you can take a screenshot because there is no way to download a full image from image sorters. You just take a screenshot of your image, and then the idea is to use it as a sort of introduction of your data set to the class. So once you explored it and you know which kind of themes are in there, you can take a screenshot and upload it either, if you can use Illustrator or Vector or even Google Slides already, and use it as a base map to then annotate it with simple, let's say, indicators. So what's in there? In this case, this is a data set about ocean for the previous workshop. So the keyword was ocean, and in there there are, a section for amazing sunsets on the beach, people underwater enjoying nature, trips, tropical destination, and then human animals interaction underwater. And then the idea is then you have the image grid, and for each theme you extract one emblematic image that represents that cluster. And that's a sort of how kind of you first introduce your topic and your collection to people who don't know about it, but also it's for yourself. It's kind of a journal of what you found in your first exploration of your data set. And you shouldn't spend too much time on it, I suggest. So it's as I said last week, it's kind of a way to have an overview of your collection from a distant point of view. And then with the visualizations that we will see after this, like the supercut and the collage, you will have more time to kind of dig deeper in what you have found. Do you have any questions for now? And if anybody online has any questions, you can write in the chat. Okay. Okay, so I will show you now how to design a supercut. It's again pretty easy. Just as a refresher, we saw last week that a supercut is a kind of a video collection, or a collection of small pieces of video that showcase a cliche phrase or cliche images or a repetition in your collection, and you can use that as a sort of storytelling technique to yeah, to highlight perspectives in your collection of video that you found and you want to show as a result. And you can do it in many ways. Basically, what you need to do is to, from your collection, create a subset of videos representing the different themes that you found. For example, I will show you. I'll show you now one example. And the idea is to then work with a software or any software that can be Premiere, but also TikTok itself allows for creating like a collection of videos. Or I selected for you Capwing, which is a kind of a, there is a free option to as a software to use. And I'll show you now here. It's online. It's a browser. It's a software that you can use on your browser. It doesn't matter on Chrome or Firefox. I think it's you can use it wherever you like. And the interesting thing here is that you can use the link of your TikToks without downloading all the videos and creating a supercut. So it's less time consuming, in my opinion. But you can do the supercuts as you like. So as I was saying, of course, if you download 500 videos for a keyword, it's difficult to create a supercut of 500 videos because you need to kind of first create a pre-selection or explore your collection and find different themes within it. And here, for example, I collected a data set for farmers in the Netherlands. And I noticed, if I go back, for example, for in image grid, I noticed from the image grid that a lot of videos were about the protests. So I know from the news, but I also noticed here like a lot of news report, lines of trucks and so on. So I thought, okay, maybe this is something I would like to highlight in my collection because it's important. It showed up in the data. It's something I want to show. So what you can do is that is to create a subset in this kind of data set. In this case, farmers in the Netherlands that focus on the protests. So as we saw last week, one way to do it is to search and filter the data set according to certain keywords. In this case, what I did is just in the hashtags, in the column of the hashtags, if you filter your data set, you can, as we saw last week, you can filter by condition. And you can say, okay, I want only see the videos that contains this hashtag born protest. Because I saw this appearing a lot of times in my data set through my exploration in Forecat and through the hashtag list that we saw last week. And this is kind of a good indicator of the protest. And if you filter it, you see already that some of the videos are gone and you have a subset of videos dedicated to that showcase some sort of protests. And then the other thing you could do, because this is already still a lot of videos to watch and to look at. Of course, if you have time, you can spend some time with them. But you can make your life easier by sorting the videos in some ways. In this case, I sorted them by the most viewed to the list. So already here at the top, you have the most kind of viewed videos about the protest of the farmers in the Netherlands within a larger data set. And you can kind of be selective here and say, okay, I will use the top 10 most viewed videos to create my supercut. And so you kind of decide the threshold. Of course, you will have to spend some time in exploring what these videos are about, because, for example, if I click on the top one, I want open the audio, I see a sort of images like farmers blocking the roads and police trying to sort the situation out. And so this video is a collection of scene from a certain situation. But if I go on the second one, it's an interview, right? People talking. So just filtering and sorting the videos from the top viewed to the most, so the least viewed, doesn't really give you a coherent content visually, right? You have to kind of decide, okay, should I'm interested in showing the line of trucks because this is a kind of a recurring imagery in my collection, or do I focus on what they're saying in the interviews and do a super cut of frequently used words, or, that's up to you. But practically, what you've done once you have your selection of 10 videos or how much you like, you just use this link, TikTok URL, so not the thumbnail, not the video, but the TikTok URL, which is the working URL of the original post, and you copy it and you go on the Capwing homepage, and it will ask you to upload a media here. You can upload the video if you downloaded it, or you can just paste the URL here, and it should automatically create a timeline with the first video. And you can use this software to build your supercut. So you can add, second video here. I will go now randomly. And it will create, it should create a second media here, I think, that you can drag in the timeline. And then it's a matter of editing it. So it's up to you how the editorial process, how you want to control the editorial process of the supercut, keeping in mind that usually the supercut, as we see last week, are a collection of snippets of videos. So TikTok is already kind of allowing you to see like how the videos are on TikTok are already snappy and quite high paced. But yeah, the editorial process is up to you. And practically here you just need to, you can cut, drag the videos in the timeline, shorten them to just select the piece you want to keep. Then you add one after the other to create like a compilation of videos. The only thing you need to add, in my opinion, is a title, like an introduction. It can be, you can add it by clicking on text. Whatever you see, farmer notice. You can make it nicer, of course, or as you like. You can give some information, maybe the date of collection of your data set. So be descriptive, and then you put it at the beginning as an introduction. Where you can control the volume again here. So you can do a lot of stuff in this software, but for our needs, you can just be very rough in creating this supercut. Once you have your collection of video, you're happy, and then you can export the project here. And there is like the free option is with the watermark from Capwing, and let's use that because who cares? Yeah, and then you just export the MP4 and it should work, and you can download it. I can show you, maybe I did, yeah, in the slides there are all these steps. Show you, I did an example with, again, the sunsets from the previous data set. And it looks like this. So it's just and if you don't dance anyways. Sunset. And it's more focusing on the aesthetics of people watching the sunset, so it's not really controversial, let's say. But it's a way, you know, to tell, okay, people are you telling this landscape in this way, with this music, with this view, with these colors. So it gives you already an idea of how people use TikTok as a storytelling device to be in relationship with certain landscape or topics. Sometimes the link, like this uploading new media with the link might not work. What I suggest you to do is to look up in the internet, and there are a lot of free services to download videos from TikTok. And since you will be working with subset of 10, 15 videos to create your supercuts, it's not so time consuming. So you will decide to download the videos and create these supercuts by uploading them to the software. Any question? I think it's pretty straightforward. The interesting part would be the editorial part of you. So which kind of stories you want to highlight and how. So the third method, which is the collage, it's kind of self-explanatory in its practical way of doing it, because you can do a collage in many ways. And I'm not really giving you any kind of, let's say, restrictions or on how you want to do it. I think you can have fun with it. The only thing to keep in mind is, as we saw last week, maybe I can show you again. We are trying to use a collage as a visual method for analysis. So I showed you these two projects where we did, like, you know, like a mini collage of the 5 most successful images for sea level rise, and we use as a sort of way to compare this topic across time, giving a title. Like, it's not self-explanatory. Sometimes you just need to add some layers of interpretation to it. Or in this case, in this project, we added the analytical framework, you know, the lenses through which we looked at the data set. In this case, nature, people, and technology. And we use that as a sort of middle way to polarize the content we selected into these 3 themes as a way to give back something that an image grid, an annotated image grid, cannot. So it's a reflected view of your dataset as a sort of a summary of your dataset that includes most emblematic images, your personal perspective on it, so how you decided to look at them, and your annotations. And you can include, I mean, it's up to you on how you want to use it as a sort of visual analysis. I can give you some just rough ideas on with the elements you can put in a collage. Well, first, of course, the title, I would say, to describe what we are looking at, can be descriptive or evocative, like, okay, which images did you use? Then you can, depending on your analysis, you can use the most recurring liked or emblematic post, or objects, animal landscape, actions from the videos. I would say stick. So the visual material you will use, try to take all of them from the collection. So if you have a collection where with all the crop fields, and then you want to create a collage with crop fields, don't search crop fields online and search for beautiful images of crop field. No, that's not the point. That's not the point to make a beautiful collage, is to reuse, repurpose the visual materials that you have in your collection in the collage as a sort of data visualization. So the data should come from your collection. And then you can annotate it as depending on your analytical framework. So you can use the hashtags that we saw, maybe a hashtag list from FORCAT, or your select most used hashtag that you select, your annotation as a researcher, so you show clearly your analytical framework, maybe music is part of it. You can then have fun with the format, so you can, be very artisanal and print out the images and do it yourself, or you can do a digital. That's up to you. I can show you some examples. That's maybe the most useful thing to do. So this is a collage that the students from the last workshop did, and they were focusing on plastic pollution that was in the ocean. It was their focus, and they decided to create 3 collages, to compare 3 collages of the most viewed videos, depicting 3 different places in their data set. So this is the US, like videos that are taken in US. This is Australia, and this is Guatemala. And they wanted to create this comparison to show how the topic of plastic waste in the ocean was depicted according to different countries, right? And here they noticed that in the US was mostly about the problem and individuals talking about the problem, so showing the plastic debris in the beach and talking about the animals suffering, while in Australia was mostly about the solution, so initiatives to solve the problem, like can be ocean cleanup or local initiatives and so on. And in Guatemala was most of the video were about a river, like a specific river that had this huge problem. And yeah, you can see kind of the landscape is more uniform here also in the collage. So it's kind of clear in this way. And the comparison helps also to create this sort of parallel analysis of your data set. And this was another funny one from another group that focused on the most mentioned animals in their collection, also for plastic waste, I think. I'm not sure in this case. And they decided to only extract the most recurring animals from the collection and create a collage only of those. So they had sharks, sea turtles, and other that it's not here. And they created this sort of organic collage of all the turtles and all the sharks and all the other animals, and annotated them with the most recurring hashtag in association with that animal. So for them, it was a way to showcase how people kind of was talking or showcased this animal in relation to a certain issue. And they discovered, like, for example, that shark were mostly talked about as a monster or with scary music and so on, and not so much as a victim of the pollution, while turtles were, of course, say, the icon of this problem, and were much more presented as a victim, as somebody want to save, and so on. So you can also be kind of very specific in what you show in your collage. Yeah, then I included some other project that don't relate to this theme at all, just to kind of give you a bit of fresh air on how you can do a collage. This is done by Federica Bardelli, which is an artist and a designer from Milan. And this is from her master thesis that's called Circa, which means many things, but in this case, it means around the Mediterranean Sea. And she, back then, it was more than 10 years ago, she looked at Google Images as a way to see how each country in the Mediterranean, around the Mediterranean Sea, was looking at each other or representing each other online. And she saw search, for example, this is Slovenia in Google Images of Greece, and this is Slovenia in Google Images of Tunisia. And she used this as a way of asking, okay, how Tunisia and Greece are imagining Slovenia on Google. So which kind of images do they return? And then she did this by hand. So she printed all the images and cut the landscape in this case, and then annotated them with a source. And it's kind of a way to see, okay, the same country, but different perspectives. And they did this, she did the same for monuments, Italian monuments. These are all Italian monuments as seen by all the countries around the Mediterranean Sea. So some of them only focus on one monument, for example, or you can see kind of the most successful Italian monument is a tower, of course, some country that they really focus on that, but kind of a way, yeah, a visual way of exploring perspectives of representations. And yeah, technically, so you see this is kind of a collage done automatically in Photoshop, where you stack many images one on top of the other and then use the auto blend option. And there is a small tutorial on how to do this if you're interested in this slideshow that I linked on page 47. But it's not mandatory to use this technique. It's just an extra. But it's a technique that kind of, if you have a stack of images, tries to keep from each image the unique part, let's say the most distinctive part, and then merge with all the other distinctive parts of the images. So yeah, you get this kind of more blended results. Yeah, these are another project we did with Gabriele Colombo, which is a researcher from density design during one of the DMI summer school here at the UVA. And we were interested in looking at the representation of a smart city from on Instagram of different, again, from different perspectives. I think this is Dubai, and we downloaded a lot of images from Instagram with the hashtag smart city and then Dubai, so to see, okay, localize this query, and then from there by hand we extracted all the people, and we were interested to see, okay, what are these people doing, what is smart for these people, right? So we clustered all the actions by people using devices, drones. There is a lot of like big personalities showing up, a lot of politics. So it kind of more like hand field collage to show actions in a data set or to characterize. And this is the other part of the same project where we only focus on landscape, on the city itself, and compared how the imaginary of a smart city look from different perspectives. So this is Dubai, which was more like a retro-futuristic idea of a smart city. This was Cairo, which is much more focused on projects like 3D renderings of like a smart city that it needs to happen, but it's under construction, let's say. And we did this with the same technique as the auto blend. So yeah, that's kind of it for the how to you can be creative for the collage. You're quite free regarding the format. And yeah, if you have any question now, I will just open up the second part. You can take a small break, and then I can spend some time with you, each of you, and just discuss what you're doing, where you're at, what you want to do. Right?
Yep. So let's take a like 15-minute break. So let's say 15:45. Continue. Again, like just to reiterate, like you still have a lot of time for this project, right? So don't get too overwhelmed. It's really just about experimenting a bit. Try and find sort of interesting aspects of videos that you look at, interesting topics that reoccur, similarities, differences, whatever it is that sort of interests you, and then you can just play around with the methods. And Carlo, especially, but also I'm of course here if you have like questions, then we can use the second part. Yeah. All right. So break until 15:45.